like hardly moving.
Existing.
Yeah. And my CI was like, okay, like failure to thrive, moving on. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like,
what does that mean?
Yeah, that's what I said. I'm like, what the heck does that mean? And what it means is like she doesn't have the will to go on.
What the
And I was like, I got to stay and try something, right?
Angels and demons fighting in the deep end. I turn all my weakness into something I believe in. Every scar, every doubt, that's fuel when I speak. Welcome to the battle where the broken get free. Yeah.
Welcome to Angels and Demons Podcast. Today we have a special guest, Dr. Tim.
Hey.
Dr. Tim is a physical therapist, and we are welcome to have him on the show. Nice to see you, Dr. Tim.
Thanks for having me, man. Really appreciate it.
How you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. This is my first time doing a big podcast, so I'm excited.
Awesome. We're very grateful to have you. Angels and Demons Podcast is specifically on mental health. It is to bring awareness to mental health. It is to break down the chains that make it taboo to where people feel like they have to hide their mental health issues because they are afraid to speak of it. So the purpose of this podcast is to shatter that so that people can be more open and honest about their issues. And physical therapy is such a big one because obviously it's people that are trying to get back to a healthy standpoint. And that affects your mind and your body. Would you not agree?
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. You can't have one without the other, so it's a huge connection.
My first question to you is, what inspired you to become a physical therapist? And was there a defining moment that led you down this path?
So really it started when I was a freshman in high school. We took career placement tests, and mine came up. It was 99% physical therapist. And at the time, I've never even have heard of it. So I looked into it. I was like, okay, like that looks pretty cool. And I was already interested in doing healthcare. And just a few years later, I had surgery on my chest because it was putting too much pressure on my heart. And the surgery actually went like terribly. So I ended up in the ICU. I almost died. I lost 20 pounds, and I'm already pretty a thin guy. So
wait. Just so we understand here, you had a surgery on your chest for what reason?
So my chest was it was kind of concaved, and it was putting pressure on my heart and my lungs.
Is that from birth?
Yeah, it was from birth. Yeah, so it was like a birth defect.
Okay, so at what age did you notice that start to affect you?
So I always saw it, but physiologically, like I was getting shortness of breath in high school. So I couldn't like keep up with kids if I was like trying to play soccer. You know, I got out of breath really quickly. But when I was like 17, 18, I started getting pain in my chest, like my heart, like it felt like
Tightness.
And so my parents were like, okay, like that's obviously not good. Let's take you in. We saw these doctors and they said, yeah, like it's putting pressure. You're going to need surgery. So the way the surgery works is they put these titanium bars underneath your ribs to like push it out.
Kind of expand the rib cage out.
Exactly, yeah. And it's pretty painful.
Are you sedated during this?
Yeah,
or?
you're knocked out.
Okay.
Yeah, but you wake up, you're in a ton of pain. And what happened is the bars kind of ripped out. My lungs collapsed. I had to go in the ICU. It was a whole thing. I almost died in the surgery.
How did you almost die in the surgery?
Well, I guess it wasn't in the surgery, but I almost died after because when the bars ripped, my lungs filled with fluid. I just couldn't breathe.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Sounds horrible.
It was tough. It was scary and it was painful. And I was just like miserable.
And you were how old at the time?
I was
surgery.
I think I was 18 at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, did they have to wait to a certain age to do a surgery of that nature?
Actually,
for development
it's
purposes?
the opposite. You try to do it when you're young.
Oh, wow.
Because your bones are more malleable.
Okay.
So, like, it'd be better if I was 14, but I was 18. So, like, it still worked. But it made it a little more complicated.
Well, apparently, I mean, if it led to almost death, that is an amazing story of survival, and what a blessing it is for you to be standing here, you know, from that experience.
I mean, it made me realize how important your independence is, how important your health is. Because, when you're 18, 19, you feel like you're Superman. You can do anything.
Yes.
To have all that taken away from me, I was like, okay, I need to have this. I need to be physically fit. I need to be pain-free. So it just made me realize how important it was. And then from that, I said, I'm definitely doing physical therapy. Like, I'm in the right path.
That's really awesome. I remember when I was 8 years old, I was going to school, and school was pretty close. So I think it was like a quarter mile. And that day I decided to run to school, and I just collapsed.
Really?
I was out of breath, kind of like how you're describing. And my hemoglobin when I went in was 3.9.
Oh, my gosh.
And I was diagnosed with T-cell leukemia. And we can relate to that chest. Yeah. My chest was hurting so bad that I was screaming when I came home. It was so painful.
Damn.
So, that I can relate to, but that's pretty incredible that, we go through a traumatic event and it almost spurs like an unattainable motivation to want to go into a certain career. And for you, that experience made it very apparent that physical therapy was for you.
That's exactly right.
There was nothing else. That was your calling.
Yeah, I realized how important it was, and I could relate to other people. So it gave me a new perspective.
That's really, that's a very powerful story. And I'm sure your patients can relate to that, because it's different than someone just getting into it because they search, what are the top 10 most highest paying jobs? Right. Versus I'm getting into this because when I was a child, I had a traumatic event.
Yeah, exactly.
And can you share a personal or professional experience that confirmed you were in the right field? Like here now, you want to be in physical therapy.
Yeah.
What made you then feel you're in the right field?
Well, I'm kind of blessed because I have experiences pretty regularly with my patients where it's very rewarding if you can help them achieve independence, if you can help them recover. So it happens all the time, but one that always comes to mind, when I was working down in South Florida, I met this man. He had a tumor on his spine, and he lost all his strength, like very quickly, and he was in a wheelchair. He couldn't even stand up, like without someone really like picking him up. So I started working with him, and I went to his house because he was too weak to leave his house. And I got him to the sink so he can like kind of pull himself up, and I helped him stand up, and he's standing there for a minute. And he's like, this is the longest I've stood up in weeks. And I kind of saw it like click because he was almost like depressed from being able to walk and exercise to now you're in a wheelchair. When I had him stand up for that long, he was like, he just had this button go off in his head, like this moment. I could just see it, the click. So it was rewarding in that moment just to see how instantly I can help somebody. But we continued to work together with that motivation for over a year. And by the end of it, he was walking around the neighborhood. We got rid of the wheelchair. He was so glad to be done with the wheelchair. He made a full recovery, and he was working out in the gym. And it was just a big story to go from wheelchair to walking around the neighborhood and exercising.
That's incredible. As a practitioner, being able to see your patient lift their entire lifestyle from not being able to walk, being in a wheelchair environment, to being able to stand up. How does that make you feel?
Oh, it was the best feeling ever. Yeah. And I could relate to him because I know what it's like to feel like that in the first place.
And you were like, I am in the right profession. It gave you that feeling, that deep inside satisfaction back to when you were 18 years old and you needed someone to help you.
Exactly.
You were now able to return instantly that favor to a man in need. And that's incredible, Dr. Tim. That's what life is about to me, is about helping other people. What motivated you to launch a mobile, and this is very interesting, you launched a mobile in-home physical therapy service instead of working in a traditional clinic setting. And that is just very ironic nowadays. To where the world is moving in terms of medicine, I feel like when I heard that, I was like, that's exactly what physical therapy should be. And can you explain why that makes such a difference?
Yeah, for a lot of reasons. So the reason I started it is I actually worked in home health. Like with that man, I worked in his house because I worked for a company. It's considered home health. You go to people's homes. They get nursing, occupational therapy, and physical therapy. So I knew I saw the value that you could give these patients in their home, which kind of like challenges the norm of going to a clinic. And I appreciated the one-on-one time. You go to someone's house, you're only gonna have one patient at a time. So I like that. When I moved up to Jacksonville recently, and I tried to work with home health companies. I wasn't really happy with their level of care, and I just said, okay, I got to do this on my own. I got to do this myself. So I'm happy with the quality of care I'm giving my patients. So that's really what inspired me to go off on my own.
What do you see as the biggest benefit when you're in these people's homes helping them? Do you find that it probably, I would think like they don't have to have, like so many people will have to have, if they're at a care facility, they have to have transportation. So they have to be able to get there. They have to be able to somehow make it over there and then get back home. So a lot of times you can set them up probably with an exercise routine at home, like you gave the example of the man with the sink. I mean, what made you even think of that? That's brilliant.
Well, everyone's got a kitchen sink, and safety is number one. So I do a lot of balance exercise with people, and you need them to hang on to something, right? Something that's not going to move.
So you're not going to fall.
Exactly. And I just saw a sink one day. I'm like, all right, you can get a grip on that. You can't pull that out of the wall. And everyone's got one. So I always use a kitchen sink.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. That's just one thing. I mean, everyone's got a kitchen sink. They got a bed. You can lay down and do so many different exercises. And you can bring in your own equipment. Like you can bring little bands, resistance bands, small weights, things like that. So there's a lot you can get done, even just gravity alone. Sometimes people, they're just having a tough time walking, standing, all kinds of things.
That's incredible that, you've thought of all those things to help someone. Because I can tell you, when you are injured, you are hurt. My mom, for an example, she was on a cruise. She broke her ankle bone. She tripped over something, and she could not walk for like 2 or 3 months. And I saw her mental health deteriorate so fast because my mom and dad were finally in a position to travel and do things, and they weren't. And the depression that kicked in was a depression that I don't even know they have an antidepressant that fixes that. Right. I really don't. I mean, the amount of discouragement and just doom and gloom was just so heavy. And so what a blessing that you have that passion to help people out, to get them back to that, because they stay in that environment too long. Their mental being is, I would imagine it's gonna fall really, really quick. Would you say?
It does, yeah. And sometimes, like I go to all different kinds of houses. I'll go to people's houses. They'll have like a really big, very clean, very nice house, and they'll be in pretty good shape. Maybe they're just a little bit injured. I'll go into some houses and it's really run down. So like they can have a hole in the ceiling. Like I've walked in and I'm just looking straight up at the sky. And then, like there's like a sinkhole in the middle of the living room, something like that. And oftentimes...
Do you run? Go for the door.
Sometimes you feel like you want. I mean, there's been so many times where you feel like you want to
get out now.
There's been some times where my safety's been in jeopardy too.
Wow, I can imagine. You don't know the community, right?
You have no idea. Actually, what happened once is I was working with this guy, and I don't know. There was a lot going on. I left, and later the nurse contacts me. They're like, "Don't see that patient if you're going to go today." And I'm like, "Well, I already saw him." They're like, "Well, he's..." And I'm like, "Well, why? Right? I already saw him, but what's the deal?" And they're like, "Well, he's having homicidal ideation." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, thanks for telling me."
A little late on the notice there.
Like, okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So luckily, I've never been harmed or anything like that. But when you find people in these homes where they're obviously, they don't have much money and they're in a really tough environment, they feel really stuck. Not just because of their injury, but also like for a lot of reasons. And so that's pretty tough to work with when you see people in that situation.
So how has bringing therapy directly into patients' homes changed your perspective on patient care?
So with patient care in people's homes, it showed me that, one, you don't need a clinic. You know, like a lot of times it's mostly psychological. People will go to a clinic because that's the norm.
Let's take Brooks Rehab, because I see it all the time.
It's
Brooks
really big
Rehab.
Brooks is good. They're big, right? And they're all over the place. The benefit there is they accept a lot of insurances.
Okay.
So they can help a lot of different people without charging them too much money. So that is a benefit. One of the downsides is, well, first you got to get there. That's its own thing. But one of the downsides is you're going to work with probably 2 different patients at a time. Like if you go in there, there's a physical therapist that's working with 2 people and you at the same time, right?
How's that possible?
It's not, but there's ways. Like you can say, hey, like I want you to stand and march like 20 times. You're going to do this exercise like 3 sets of 10.
Oh, I see. So you're kind of managing a group of patients. Okay.
Which can work, but it's just not the same when you go to someone's house. It's one-on-one. So that's like one.
So it's almost like someone going and having group fitness in a group class versus having a personal trainer.
Yeah.
You've taken it into a very like direct way focus. So your attention is given directly to the patient.
Right.
So they are receiving the rewards of everything. They're not being distributed 30%, 40%, 20%. So you are more accurately able to create a treatment plan that would meet their needs better.
Yeah.
Would you say that's kind of...
That's 100% on the nose. Plus you're in their home. So you can already see how they would interact in their own home environment.
God, I mean, as you're saying in the home, I'm just like, I mean, I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it. Like, so we, God, like this story, I don't want to like, but I'm just going to say it.
Go for it.
There was a hoarder that was 3 doors down from our house, and she had gotten into a divorce about 5 years ago.
Okay.
And so she had a shopping problem. She'd buy all this stuff. She'd take the stuff. She'd drop it. And then she had like 9 cats, and then she would just sleep wherever she could.
Okay.
There was when my dad was in a cleanup business where they do in-home cleanings. Not just like maid service, but really in-depth cleanings where they go in like pre-construction cleanup. And so they went into the house, and the house was 4.5 feet full of crap.
Yeah.
I mean, bags had never been opened. The cats had pooped and pissed over everything. Now, it was so bad that the actual FBI had to be brought in and involved.
Yeah.
But she was so depressed. Her depression was so heavy, and she broke her leg that I guess when they came into a point to help her, they couldn't even access to get into the door.
Wow.
So it took my dad and the crew roughly around 6 months to clean the house out.
Oh, my gosh.
So when we're talking about mental health and you're talking about a physical, let's say someone like my mom, for an example, breaks her ankle or breaks her leg, and now they're on the process of getting back to health.
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many variables. First of all, before they had the injury, what was going on in their life?
Right. It might not have been perfect before the injury. Right.
Who is this person? Like, I mean, like you probably see a variety of people from very, very clean to people where you see a toothbrush face down on mold on a bathtub.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I've seen hoarders. Anyone who does this, who goes into people's homes, you're going to see hoarders, cockroaches. I had one patient, I felt so bad because the woman was such a clean freak. Like she loved to clean, but she's been so disabled for so long, she couldn't clean her home. And her husband was like a pig. And so she was living in this home, and she was being basically neglected by him too.
That's so sad, man.
Like I walk in, it smells terrible. I find her in this room. She could barely walk. She can barely stand up. We walk, I get her walking. We go towards the living room, and the guy's just sitting on the couch, and I see like these chuck pads. I'm not kidding, like mountains of dog poop.
No,
like it must have been weeks of like,
stop.
yeah.
What did this do to you? I mean, what do you do? Is that when you knew your calling was no more? It's like, okay, like,
Yeah.
my chest was like, okay, I got it. Like, I'm going into physical therapy,
Right.
but it's almost like, and I'll tell you what, being in the health field as well, you cannot deny we get beat up.
Absolutely.
We get beat up
Yeah,
because
it's
there's
tough.
that environment alone you have to overcome to be able to focus on the individual. But the stench could be so bad that, it could stink so bad you can't even focus.
Not at all. No.
It's like, if there's a pile of
Dude,
I don't even know how I would focus on someone being able to stretch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're
like,
killing me.
I would just I literally would just be like, listen, like, what we're going to do today is something totally different. It has nothing to do with physical therapy.
Yeah.
We're going to do what's called picking up dog poop.
Right. We're
Do
gonna
you ever
go outside.
Are you able to, in your profession, get down to that level?
to get my patient or client to like clean?
Yeah.
That's a great idea. I've never even thought of that because I just don't want to go in there and tell them what to do. But that may be beneficial.
I'll tell you what, my fiance likes the home very clean and the bed made. And I remember this one Marine saying, the first thing you do when you wake up is you make your bed.
Right.
Because that's the first task that you accomplish that day.
Yeah.
You actually did something, you accomplished it, and now you can go and accomplish something else. And that brings on a self-worth and self-accomplishment. And I'm telling you what, in that situation, like when things are disorganized, I might as well just I can't even function at work.
Yeah.
I can't function in my car. I don't even know if I could put my car in drive. I'm dead serious. I mean, when things are a mess, my brain is like a schizophrenic, like, think of it, just craziness.
Yeah, the physical clutter creates the mental clutter.
I can't manage it that way.
No.
So it's like, for you to be able to do that, God bless you, first of all.
Thank you.
I really mean that. God bless you. Because you're from South Florida.
Correct.
And you are bringing a valuable service to Jacksonville where people that have injuries, you will go to the extent of going to their home. And Dr. Tim's not going to judge you if you have a pile of dog poop on the floor.
I won't enjoy it, but I try not to judge. Yeah, that's right.
He's not going to judge. That to me is incredible that you have the ability to focus on the patient and ignore the outside environment. But maybe at the same time, where do you see, in your experience, how closely are physical health and mental health connected?
So that's like where you can see the resemblance is like what we were just talking about, like in the home. So sometimes I'll go to a house, nothing's put together, everything's disheveled, everything's chaotic and crazy. It's not well maintained. And then I see with the patient, it's kind of the same. Like their healthcare seems to be neglected. They're all out of sorts. They're not taking medicines. They're not taking care of themselves. Sometimes there's a connection there. Sometimes I just try not to judge. But they go hand in hand so much. I mean, if you're injured, first of all, you're going to feel stuck about the injury. You're going to feel like, you're just in this dark place, right? And so I like to try to see their perspective and try to meet them in this space and say, hey, like, I'm here for you. And we're gonna come out of this together.
That's really awesome, Tim. Dr. Tim, that's really awesome. To be able to do that is rare. Most people don't have that ability to where someone is in life. You don't know what darkness they've been through.
No, I can't judge them, right? I mean, it would be rude. It just wouldn't be smart to. You never know what someone's dealing with and what led them to that situation.
And you're trying to focus more on getting them back into a state of health. And what mental health challenges do you commonly see in patients recovering from injuries? Because when you're injured, and I see patients as well as a dental hygienist, I see so many countless patients that are recovering from hip replacements, knee replacements, you name it, any physical injury that's taken them out of the game, so to speak, to where they can't do what they do in life. How do you see the mental challenges? Like what mental health challenges do you commonly see in these patients?
So what I see a lot in men especially is it seems to be more difficult to give up that independence. Because men typically, they don't like to ask for help. They don't want to show weakness. And so they struggle the most when it comes to having this injury where they're not able to drive a car. They're not able to be on their own. Like it's a really big deal for men, especially. So with the women, of course, they don't want to give it up either. A lot of times, women who are in their 70s or 80s, they're more likely to have osteoporosis. And a lot of times women will outlive men. And so a lot of times women are widows when they're older. And so that's their own, they got to deal with that emotionally. And so typically they're more scared of being alone and falling. And men are a little more careless with the falls. But the women's team seem to be more scared of falling. And when that happens, they don't move as much. And then when they don't move as much, they get weaker. And then when they're weaker, they're more likely to fall. So that's really not independent of women. That can happen with men and women. But that's kind of what I see between the two.
That's very interesting. My mom has, to go back to her, she, Mayo Clinic, they said she has the worst osteoporosis they've ever seen.
Oh, really?
I mean, it's the worst osteoporosis. I mean,
wow.
She basically, her bone looks like Swiss cheese.
Wow.
So any slight impact, she has a break. And
wow.
So she has to be so careful everywhere she goes. But you're right. One fall can all of a sudden take out everything that you think is important.
Yeah.
And so how does losing mobility, like being able to walk or move independently, impact someone emotionally and psychologically?
Yeah.
I mean, that to me was a really interesting question to, a therapist, a physical therapist like you, because that's huge.
It is huge. I can't imagine for a long term what that would feel like. I'm sure it's really difficult. You try not to get numb to it because when you come across so many people in that position, I think in healthcare people get kind of numb when they see the same problem over and over. They're just like, oh, yeah. But I do try to put myself in their shoes. So a lot of times I'll have patients very old, well into their 90s, and they can hardly do anything for themselves. And I'm not trying to be too grim, but they'll say that they're ready to move on, like they're ready to die. And they'll try and have that conversation with their kids, but the kids, they don't want to talk to them about that. I think a lot of healthcare providers try to.
How does that make you feel when a patient says, I'm ready to die? Just thinking that we're none of us are going to live forever.
Right.
We're going to come to that point where we all die. When someone tells you that you're providing care for that they're wanting to die, what inside of you, what feeling do you feel?
I feel for them. I mean, it's hard to listen to, I'm there to get them better and they're already thinking about dying. So it hurts, but I also at the same time, I try to put myself in their shoes. If I'm 95 and a lot of my family isn't there anymore and I can't take care of myself, I'm sure I'd probably feel the same way. I'd feel like I'm ready to go. But instead of trying to tell them don't worry, don't think like that, or, just kind of poo-poo it or just belittle it, I try to listen because I don't think that's a conversation they have a lot with people that, it's just an uncomfortable conversation.
Probably not even with their closest family.
Exactly. So I try to have that conversation. I just listen. It's not quite the same as, I'm suicidal. That's a totally different situation. I would bring in a professional to speak with them about that because I'm not qualified for that. But especially as you get very, very old, talking about death, I think it should be a conversation you can have. So I think they appreciate that I listen to them. And I try to make them appreciate what they do have. For example, I was working with this woman in a assisted living facility. And she was in a wheelchair. She could hardly move. She felt really upset. She said she's like, I feel like I'm just ready to go. And she was really down on herself, and it was Thanksgiving. And I was like, well, are you going to see your family for Thanksgiving? She's like, yeah, they're going to take me out for the day, and I'll spend Thanksgiving at their house because they live nearby. And I'm like, well, like some people here, they don't even have that. Like they'll be here alone on Thanksgiving. And she's like, gosh, yeah, you're right. I don't even know what I would do then. So I try to just talk to them about what they do have, just be appreciative of what you have. Like there's this saying, like, I cried because I had no shoes until I met the man who had no feet.
Wow. I cried because of the man who had no shoes until I met the man who had no feet.
Right.
So that's a really powerful saying. And I think anyone, in this room should really think upon those words. Because you're looking at a homeless person saying, oh my God, this person has no shoes. But how bad is that situation until you see someone that doesn't have any feet?
That's right. Yeah.
Perspective a lot of times to me is our mindset of what we're capable to accomplish that day. And not to get off topic, but we're talking specifically about mental health and physical therapy. Being a physical therapist is so much about restoring someone's mental health that you're in someone's intimate, private space of their home where some people never come out of their home. You've probably seen people when they're depressed and have I had a patient once that was so big. She was so big that she watched TV, she DoorDashed and Instacarted all her food, and she never left her home. Have you ever seen that show, like 600 Pound Life?
Yeah, I've seen it, yeah. Is that what it was like?
Yeah. So, what do you do when you have, 600 Pound Life? Is that... because there's only so much physical harm and intake that you can take as a provider till you have nothing to give to someone. Do you ever feel like you're just empty?
I've got a story. It's so sad, but I don't know if I want to share.
No, I want to hear it. No, I want to hear it.
It's not. It was actually the opposite of 600 Pound Life because this woman was tiny.
Okay.
So maybe it's a little more off topic, but I did feel like I felt empty in this situation. So this is when I was in a hospital. I was doing a rotation as a student, and my CI, was supervising me. And we came across this woman. She was in her bed because, it's a hospital. She wasn't following commands very well. She wasn't moving a lot. She was really just laying down and, hardly moving.
Existing.
Yeah. And my CI was like, okay, failure to thrive, moving on. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like,
what does that mean?
Yeah, that's what I said. I'm like, what the heck does that mean? And what it means is she doesn't have the will to go on.
What the f?
And I was like, I got to stay and try something, right? So I worked with her. I moved her arm. I made her resist me. I did anything I could to get her to use her muscles and to move.
So wait. So
Sure.
so she's defined as a physical human being.
Exactly.
That is deserving of life.
That's how I saw it, right?
Oh, continue.
Yeah,
This is fascinating.
I'll never forget it. So I worked with her because I'm not giving up on this woman I just met, So I'm doing anything I can to help her get stronger, to do any exercise. I'm moving her myself. I'm having her fight against me. And then I kept her on my schedule for the next day because I work every day. And my CI's like, there's no point. Just don't even go. And I'm like, well, I'm going to go. I'm like, this is my moment. I'm going to show this guy that I'm right and he's wrong. And so I go the next day, and she just couldn't even move an inch. She just couldn't move. She couldn't talk. She just was laying there. I couldn't get her to do a single thing. And I felt so empty and embarrassed because I didn't want to give up on her.
And you wanted to prove that you could get restored this human life.
That's why I'm in this career, right? To help people, to help to get them back, not to just say failure to thrive, see you later. And what I realized was, he must have seen something like this before, and he he just didn't even want to try. I still tried. I'm still glad I tried, and I will always try. But that was just a horrible feeling.
So did the patient end up dying?
Yeah. Yeah, she did.
So the patient ended up dying.
Yeah.
You know, when my grandparents lived in a retired facility, it was called Bircham Hills. It's in East Lansing, Michigan, outside of the capital of Michigan. It's a retired community. When I went in there, there is just a stench of elderly people, and not to be disrespectful, but there's a very stench of death.
Yeah.
You smell it. And every year I would go there and visit, there'd be like 40 or 80 people in the building that would have died. And so I really started to, every time I walked down the hallway, I realized that the closer I got to my grandparents' room, the people I were walking by, they were gone. There was one was like an 80, 90-year-old dentist. The other was like a 70, 80, 90-year-old, architect. And they were just all like, as I was walking by, they were refilled by new people.
Yeah.
And they had passed away.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you seeing that,
my patients will die. You get close with someone and then they're gone.
That's hard.
That's hard.
That's hard.
It is. I'm sure in some fields in healthcare, it's more so, right? Like they probably see death a lot more than I do. But when you're working with people that old, you're going to get close to people and they're going to die like pretty often.
I read a book, or am in the midst of a book, of people that die, have been resuscitated and have come back to life and sharing their story.
Oh, yeah?
And they all have the same story.
What is it?
I'll give you the book before you leave, but it's a guy that wrote it from Harvard University. They all say the same thing. They saw a great light. They felt more love and compassion than they've ever felt in their entire life. Nice. And they felt like they had come to the ultimate point of existence. And they all say they saw a greater being or God.
Really?
And so I truly, undeniably believe that our end destiny, we are all here in a great school called the world.
Yeah.
We learn our lessons, whether we choose to or not, until we learn them. And then we come back. And if we rebel against it and think we have it figured out, I think that when we die, I think our spirit goes back into another human being, and you will learn your lessons. You will learn your lessons in another human being form until you have learned everything that you need to learn.
I've thought that before too, and then I've wondered, like if I cut a guy off in traffic, it's just like, okay, like when I'm that guy later on, I just got cut off. I just cut myself off. You know what I mean?
Well, you have, in a way.
In a way, yeah.
In a way, karma is a real thing.
Right.
It says you reap what you sow in the Bible.
Exactly.
So whatever you are sowing into today, you are reaping. It doesn't mean you're going to reap it in the next day or the next hour, but you are planting your own future. And so have you seen patients experience improvements in their mood, confidence as they regain physical strength? Like, have you seen the mental health aspects start to fade away as they gain their physical strength?
Yeah, this is the nice part of my job, right?
Now we're climbing out. We're kind of like, we just went down into a little valley
it got
there.
dark.
Yeah, I get it. Well, I you know what? I appreciate you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Tim. I'll tell you what, I don't want to make this podcast a fake podcast, and that's one thing is I don't want to talk with people that are fake and phony. It's about helping people. And if you can explore some very dark avenues in life and you cannot talk about death, then it's like that is part of your career.
Right.
That is part of what you're doing.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to accept it. And these people, if they don't get their physical health back, they could deteriorate and die very prematurely. Many of them.
It happens a lot. So, you got to acknowledge it. And it's better. That's my take, accept it, acknowledge it. We don't stay there. We try to move past that, but we don't ignore it either. So
that's a really good mindset to have.
But there are. This is the nice part of my job, right? So when I actually get to see how people's moods change when they get better.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So
an example.
Here's an example. So I was working with this woman. This was here in St. Augustine. And it was kind of the same situation. Like her house wasn't in the best shape. She wasn't in the best shape. She had, I won't go into the specifics so I don't, single her out. But she couldn't walk.
I mean, give me some specifics.
Right,
I mean, I want our subscribers to really get a real taste of what physical therapy, in-home treatment life looks like for you.
She had an ankle fracture. And this is kind of a nice story because when I first moved up here, I decided to work with a home health agency where that's what they do. They send nurses and PTs to people's homes. And so I met this woman. She had an ankle fracture. She had a surgery to put her ankle back together. She was struggling to walk. She was scared of walking. She didn't trust people. She was very depressed, very negative. She loved working with me. And I worked with her with that company, but I also formed my own business later on. And so she actually found me and reached out to me later on.
That's really cool.
It was cool. So, because I didn't like the way that company did business. I just didn't like the way they treated their patients. It was just a difficult model. So when I'm seeing her as my own company, I had a little more freedom. And so she was telling me, she's like, I used to walk to the beach and there's this restaurant there. And I would go to the beach and I'd go to this restaurant. I'd have so much fun. And then I'd walk home because she lived pretty close. She was just like a few blocks from the beach. And I said, okay, well, let's get you stronger. Let's get you walking. I'll walk with you. And we would go out, we'd walk.
How old was she?
She was, I can't remember exactly.
80s,
she was
maybe 70s to 70s.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I helped her walk farther and farther. And my goal was to get her to the beach and to go to that restaurant. So what we did was on the very...
That's really cool.
Yeah, right? It's like very specific.
It was something very meaningful to her.
Yeah.
She couldn't do it,
Right.
and you wanted to regain this ability for her to do it.
Exactly. So, and I wanted to see her do it. I didn't want to just say like, okay, you can lift your leg 10 times with 5 pounds, so you'd probably be able to do that on your own. Like I wanted to do it with her. So I said, we're going to walk together to the beach and to that restaurant. And that's what we did on the last day of therapy. That was like our final graduation.
That's really cool.
And we had lunch, and I mean, it was a long visit, but it just meant a lot more to me. It meant a lot to her.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a really, really cool example of the fulfillment that you have as a physical therapist, being able to not just get someone to where they're good enough to where they can leave clinic. Like Brooks Rehab, I would say you're good enough now where you can walk. So now you're kind of on your own, where you can actually take something very specific and meaningful to someone, and you can tie a bow on it in a way to where it makes a lasting impact on that individual. Yeah. To where they realize, hey, I not only gained my mobility, but I also gained a friend. And I gained encouragement, and I got back to something that brought enjoyment to me. That's a powerful story. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. That's exactly the kind of content I'm looking for. That's incredible. And how does eliminating travel, waiting rooms, clinic stress improve the recovery experience for your patients? Because again, waiting rooms, clinic stress, you're thinking about, people are running behind. So you're thinking about, I'm going to have to do these deadlifts, or I'm going to have to do these stretches. And physical therapy, my grandma hated it. She hated it. It was 30 minutes a day, and she hated going to physical therapy. It was the worst part of her day.
Yeah.
She wanted to go play Scrabble, and she wanted to go to the cafeteria and have soup and have stuff.
That's always
She
tough.
did not want to be in physical therapy,
Yeah.
So how does that eliminate that?
Well, I kind of want to I want to go off path a little bit, and then I'll come back to that. So just because I'm laughing because I used to work so much in assisted living homes, and like you'd show up, you don't know exactly what they're doing when you get there, and it's hard to always schedule a time. You might have like 5 people in one little area in one assisted living home, And I remember I'd like show up and they'd have like an Elvis impersonator. And I'm like, oh, forget it. I'll never get these people to work with me. Like, it's just not going to happen. Like, they don't want to go exercise when Elvis is here, you know?
Yeah, it's just Elvis or physical therapy.
Right,
You're like, okay, I'm going to go listen to, or I get what you're saying, because they got the piano person coming in, they have an entertainment.
Yeah.
A lot of those living facilities, they have like a list of things that you can sign up and do.
They do.
And physical therapy ends up being on the bottom of the list, right?
It's,
it's like the punishment. It's like, you will be punished today.
Some people look at it very much like that. And I get it. Like, I totally get it. Sometimes I say it's like brushing your teeth for like 45 minutes. It's like, who wants to do that? But you need to do it. Like, it's so good for your health. But, it can be monotonous. I try to make it fun, but yeah, it's just funny because I hear that all the time. They're like, I don't want to do this. They're doing arts and crafts but when Elvis is there, forget it. Like, it's
when Elvis is there. And that's funny because Elvis can marry you in Vegas too. I mean, some people say even Elvis is still alive. I don't know if that's true, but some people say Elvis is still alive. Hey, he might show up today. We don't know.
He's alive in their hearts, for sure.
I mean, Elvis, with his hips. He moved his hips. I think the women, they really like that, the moving of the hips.
Dude,
these 89-year-old ladies are like, woo! Look at that.
So I just leave. I just go home.
That day you're like, no working today.
Yeah, I'm working on a weekend, it looks like.
My aunt, though, that lived at that same Bircham retirement community that you said you had some experience in, she lived to almost 100.
Nice.
And she learned to love her physical therapy. She put that as the priority. And then all of her fun events afterwards were done. But that was the priority because she knew her physical therapist was like, if you lose the ability for your strength, you're going to lose everything.
Yeah. Well, there's at least a correlation there because I see a lot of people who are 95 plus walking around like there's no problem, like they're totally fine. Some of them don't even take medications. And I go, like, what's your secret, right? Like, you've lived this long and you're in good shape. And they all say the same thing. They all say, I never stop moving.
Heard that. I have heard that
all the time.
A patient at Ponte Vedra Beach, she came from Coronado, San Diego with her husband. She was 96 years old. And I went to say hello, and she just, bam, like that. She bolts down the hallway, jumps in the chair. And I'm like, I can't even do that. I'm 35. Right. I can't even jump in a chair like that. I was like, my God, I need to go to the gym, start working out. This 96-year-old just did like some calisthenics that I don't even know how to do. And I asked her, I said, how do I live to 95? Because I want to live a mentally healthy physical life. And she said, get rid of your TV, get rid of your stuff that's keeping you in the home, and move around. Do the gardening, go to the physical activities, but don't stop moving. And I think you hit the nail on the head there. Don't stop moving, because when you stop moving, it's like, have you ever taken a long plane ride?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you feel like after flying over the pond, so to speak, to Europe? Horrible. How do you feel?
Horrible, man.
Your oxygen level, everything. You feel like a worm that looks on the ground withered, and you're just like, you know what I mean? Like even snacks, you're like,
well, yeah, just being if you're ever middle seat, like, forget it.
Yeah, you're everyone's just like, you come off, they have these neck pillows, they're like.
It's amazing.
I mean, like, literally, I felt like a chipmunk when I came back from Brazil. My face was just expanded. But I mean, in reality, not moving for just that short period of time, if it can do that much damage to your body, and them say you can get blood clots and all just flying over to Europe, imagine how important it is to what you're doing to instilling a routine physical activity to get them not only to health, but for lasting purposes. And I don't know what percentage, but I bet you get so many patients back to where they can mobily move. Yeah. But what percentage actively continually do what you tell them to do?
It's hard to say. So when I was working for companies that do home health, it would be common to see the same person like every year or like a couple times a year. And that was like, kind of frustrating because and there's a whole, I can go down a rabbit hole on that because sometimes these businesses, they like that patient because that means they can keep seeing that patient. You know what I mean? and then they can build their insurance and make more money. So like sometimes some businesses like when patients keep getting sick or keep getting hurt or keep needing therapy, or if we get them better and then we know in 3 months they're going to be right back where we started, because then they can keep them on and make more money. And like, you know, seeing that as a practitioner, these businesses focus on these patients for the money aspect. It just made me sick.
And you're kind of the opposite.
Right.
You want to get them well and let them go.
Independent, yeah.
Like almost like get them to where
they
they can fly and then they fly away.
Exactly.
That brings you joy, like the lady that went to the beach. Once she got to her point, you're like, enjoy your life.
Yeah.
Do you find that the patients are more comfortable or open when therapy happens in their home environment? You said that they definitely do, but how does in-home therapy support individuals who may already be struggling with anxiety, depression, or low motivation? And again, struggling with anxiety, depression, or low motivation. I think the reason I keep saying those three words is mental health is dealing a lot with anxiety, a lot of depression, and a lot with low motivation. What does low motivation mean to you? Now, again, you gave an analogy of someone not having shoes versus someone not having feet. Does low motivation mean if I make coffee, I make a breakfast, I work out, I go make a second breakfast, I eat that, then I walk a mile, then I get to watch a little 30-minute show, then I get to go eat lunch, and then I get to go do whatever and come back? Like, what is a good motivation? I mean, low motivation is what standard is that? I mean, like You've seen all different living situations, but how do you rate in physical therapy motivation? Like, it is walking in the door, to me, you won.
You mean if I walk in?
If they allow you to walk in the door, they've won, right?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes not. Sometimes. So some people just want me to leave, you know?
Okay. Have you been told just to leave?
Not on my own business, because the people that want to work with me, really, they are motivated. They want to get better. When I was working with other companies, it happened all the time. You know, I'd walk in and like, get out. And I'm like, okay, well, why am I even here in the first place if like this is what's if this is what's going on? But that's because the company wants you there just to bill and get out. So
that's sad.
That is sad.
That's sad. But you see something in when a patient might be in a situation where they are too embarrassed to go to a clinic.
Exactly. Yeah. So
I mean, whatever that situation looks like, they are too embarrassed to go to a clinic. So their mental health is deteriorating because they're not getting outside and socializing in any way. They're locked in at the home. And so you're able to at least get them to where they're unshackled in that regard.
I see what you mean by if I get in.
Yeah, you won. Because now
you're
able to ignite something like the lady you gave the analogy with that you know, maybe the motivation is sometimes, to me, the biggest key. Because when you're depressed, your motivation goes down. If your motivation goes down, then the action that you need to take to make some improvement in your mental health doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. You don't eat properly. Right. You don't exercise properly.
Falls apart.
It all crumbles. It all crumbles.
Into a sinkhole in the living room.
Yes.
But you're right.
And a sinkhole in the living room. So that's why I think mental health, and that's why I label this podcast Angels and Demons, because every day, no matter if you are schizophrenic, bipolar, diabetic, high blood pressure, whatever systemic disease you have an angel and you have a demon, in my opinion. And you have choices every day. And whether you have low motivation or high motivation, if you have low motivation, then you cannot fix your problems.
That's right. Yeah.
So you have to be motivated. So what do you do to motivate these patients so that they can gain their mental health back?
So sometimes, just like you said, just if I can get in there and make small changes, that's enough to keep them motivated. Sometimes just having an appointment is all it takes for someone to be motivated enough.
Maybe them seeing someone and saying hi, because you gave an example of being a lot of widows, you know?
That's right. Yeah, a lot of them are very lonely. You know, a lot of older people can be very, very lonely. And so just being there in person, knowing that you're there for them, right? Like I care about, they can see that. I get them moving, we get the blood flowing. They don't feel like a worm after being on a plane for so long, you know? So
that's a good point.
Yeah.
What does loneliness mean to a physical therapist?
Well, it can be dangerous. So, you know, I worked through COVID. You know, I'm sure you were in healthcare in COVID. Everyone had their own COVID. You know, they all experienced it different ways. I saw what happened to the elderly during COVID. It was horrible. They were in, especially people in assisted living, they weren't allowed to leave their rooms. They had to stay in their rooms. They had meals delivered to their door, and they'd open it up. Here you go, bye. Everyone's wearing a mask. The family's not allowed to come in. They're watching the news. The news is all like negative stuff. And sometimes I was the only person that interacted with them. Like,
that's crazy, man.
At all.
That's crazy.
But they were so thankful for me at that point, right? So like when they were lonely then, I could just see, like, I mean, so many people died during that period because of their loneliness. So it could be horrible for your mental health if you're lonely.
You know what? Loneliness is something, and we've never really gone into loneliness. And that is a whole nother chapter, because I think that for holistic healing and long-term wellness, for someone to be mentally healthy, they have to have a community, you know, of people. We all are a community, and where we depend on one another for our well-being. And you see that in your aspect of where you are merging different pieces so that people have the ability to have their functionality back and their physical ability to move so that they can have their mental health restored. Dr. Tim, I can't thank you enough for coming on Angels and Demons podcast. I mean, you've really given us the cantered version of, or the raw version of what it really is to be a physical therapist, not just the fake, Brooks rehab take where you come in and do a few stretches or exercises. You gave us some examples of what it really is for these people to go through. And I think for our subscribers that are going through that, or any injury that you may be going through, and you are living in Jacksonville, Atlantic Beach, or even South Florida, North Florida, West, East Florida, I mean, Dr. Tim, you're an amazing physical therapist, I can tell. Because you genuinely care about your patients.
Absolutely.
You care about restoring them and getting them back to physical health. And so what a pleasure it has to have you on the show.
Thank you.
For you to share that you're here. And how can they reach out to you? We'll provide the link to your practice, but how can they reach out and find you if they are in need of physical therapy assistance?
So I have a website, Lift. My business is called Lift Physical Therapy, LIFT. You can email me on that website. It's got my email there. That's probably the best way to reach out to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's where they can go to start making a move for their first appointment.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So you heard that his company is called Lift. We're going to put the website on the bottom of Dr. Tim's page so that you can access that if you have any need in physical therapy, so you can restore to your proper mental health. Again, thank you for watching Angels and Demons podcast. And thank you, Dr. Tim, for coming on this show. And until next time, look forward to seeing you.
Angels and demons fighting in the deep end. I turn all my weakness into something I believe in. Every scar, every doubt, that's fuel when I speak. Welcome to the battle where the broken get free. Yeah.